on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay? If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. If you all choose to go on the internet and try to publicize it.
All right, put her on camera number one. All right. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cams. Defense attorney Brad Haywood, you are under the microscope. Now, Mustafa was scheduled for a hearing on the 7th of January, and the hearing was for Prosecutor Sarah Sami had filed a motion to take away Mustafa's lawyer. It's a motion that Mustafa waived his right to a lawyer based on his actions. So that's what the prosecutor wanted to do.
Waiving the Sixth Amendment.
She wanted to waive his Sixth Amendment. Now, today, it was involuntary waive Mustafa's Sixth Amendment. Today, we had a beautiful day in court. Mustafa was in court today. There was a hearing at 9 o'clock in the morning. And Prosecutor Sarah Sami miserably failed at prosecuting that motion. She went up to Judge Carol Weimer and told him, Your Honor, I would like to go ahead and withdraw my motion that's scheduled for January 7th. So what I want to do, I want to congratulate the community that's following the falsified case of Mustafa Aljazairi. I want to let this community know that today, Prosecutor Sarah Sami failed at taking Mustafa's lawyer away. And a lot of what happened is an effort that has to do with what we did, exposing what was going on behind closed doors. There was an email that we released where defense attorney Brad Haywood accused Mustafa from solitary confinement releasing sealed material when in fact he was the one that was releasing sealed material. That email exposed what Brad Haywood did in the Mustafa Aljazairi case. Now, we're going to go into the details of what happened in court today and how Prosecutor Sarah Sami failed at prosecuting that motion and how she withdrew that motion that was scheduled on the 7th. Now, another thing that we're going to go into, we're going to talk about presiding Judge Carol Weimer. Now, when Prosecutor Sarah Sami withdrew that motion, Judge Carol Weimer litigated that motion. He went on and litigated that motion. And Mustafa asked to speak on the record to address what the judge was litigating. Judge Carol Weimer told Mustafa, you'll have a chance to respond. Now, after Judge Weimer was done litigating a motion that the prosecutor withdrew, and the question is, how impartial is Judge Carol Weimer when he's litigating a motion that the prosecutor already withdrew? And when it was time for Mustafa to speak, Judge Carol Weimer flat out told Mustafa, you are not allowed to speak. As a matter of fact, he ordered the deputies to take Mustafa out of the courtroom.
Said, get him out of here.
Get him out of here. But Mustafa said on the record, enough. And that's on the transcript now. Mustafa told Judge Carol Weimer, what bothered Judge Carol Weimer? What got Judge Carol Weimer so riled up that he couldn't have Mustafa speak today? Mustafa told Judge Carol Weimer that, Your Honor, the lawyer that you're giving me today, I understand that Prosecutor Sarah Sami withdrew that motion against me that supposedly from solitary confinement, that I waived my right to a lawyer. I understand that she withdrew that motion. What I like to do is address what you just got done litigating. And two, Your Honor, the lawyer that you're assigning to me today is a lawyer that's partnered with a lawyer that already withdrew and has said in the past that they have a conflict of interest. They brought Mustafa a lawyer, a partner with a lawyer that had already withdrew. And when Mustafa stated that on the record, the judge got so upset that he ordered the deputies to remove Mustafa. So one, Mustafa wasn't able to reply to what the judge litigated on behalf of a motion that already was withdrawn. And two, the judge was upset that Mustafa, on the record, told the courts that, hey, the lawyer that you're bringing me is a lawyer that has a conflict of interest. So we're going to get into the details of what went on in court today. I want to thank Muhammad for being here. Muhammad, thank you for being here. It's going to be a beautiful podcast going into the details of what Prosecutor Sarah Sami failed to prosecute. Do me a favor, go into our intro, our beautiful, beautiful intro.
This stuff, that's going to create real problems.
Okay.
You can't do it, is what I'm telling you. You cannot do it. I will have to move to withdraw from the case.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay. If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay? If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you
This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cams. Defense attorney Brad Haywood, you are under the microscope. I want to thank Muhammad for being here. Muhammad, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I understand you had a beautiful day in court watching what happened in court today. I mean, Prosecutor Sarah Sami was visibly shook. She was upset. She was confused. The judge was upset and he was confused. I mean, this is a hearing that was scheduled on the 7th, and they thought they had everything to go forward and remove Mustafa's lawyer and have Mustafa walked into trial without a lawyer. Imagine. They wanted to have Mustafa go in to trial without a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, you look at what happened today in court. So the prosecutor has been on and on for last motion, the motion before that. She's having ex parte communication with the judge. She's filing jointly with Brad's permission. Brad's filing with her permission. And they're both conspiring to take away Mustafa's Sixth Amendment. They're saying that by Mustafa's behavior, he's basically saying he doesn't want a lawyer because of his rude, disruptive behavior. He's being a obstructionist, that he keeps doing this. Yeah, we heard from Mustafa on the record, and he said, I don't want Brad to withdraw. If Brad was going to withdraw, he should have done that months ago. I want to go to trial. Okay, I want to get this over with. And Brad, all of a sudden, I mean, he's leaving this case, okay, and he's filing. I mean, when you listen to what Brad is doing, he's basically coordinating with the prosecutor, because you read these motions, okay, you read the motions, and it's almost like, how does the prosecutor know that Brad Haywood is going to withdraw? And why are there no objections from the prosecutor to this withdrawal? She has no objections at all.
They're not objecting. They want Brad Haywood to withdraw.
Okay, so it looks like Brad and Sarah Sami and Stephanie Buck coordinated this whole thing, that Brad's going to withdraw. They're going to make Mustafa look bad. And then the judge is going to say, okay, you're not entitled to a lawyer anymore. We're just going to push you through trial pro se with standby counsel.
Look,
and that's how they're betting they're going to win this case.
Clear evidence. And this is not my word against Brad Haywood. Clear evidence show through his filing and through his actions in court is that Brad was sabotaging the case for the prosecutor, was working for the prosecutor. This is clear evidence. So, and this is what we've been litigating on this podcast through the last multiple podcasts. We would pull up the filing and what Brad Haywood is doing in court and show.
And you're not attacking Brad.
And I'm not attacking Brad. It's nothing personal.
He seems to take it personal. He thinks it's an attack. But all you're doing is you're putting on on this platform, on the record, for the people to see, you're saying, Brad, you told us that you're doing 1, 2, and 3. Okay? But the filings, the orders that are being in court, that are being filed, are not matching up to what you're telling us. They're not matching up with what you're telling Mustafa. I mean, 1 minute he's saying that he's not going to use the expert in court. And then in a text communication to you, he says, I've already hired this expert. Okay, but you're telling the courts that you have not hired this expert, that you're taking the funds, you're giving it to the prosecutor. That's where the discrepancy became an issue.
And another problem is he wouldn't pick up Mustafa's phone. So Mustafa would call us. I mean, at the end of the day, we're his family. He would call his family. He said, my lawyer is not picking up my phone. So I would call Brad. And this went on for a whole entire year. I would call Brad, and Brad would tell me, I'm really busy, tell Mustafa, and he would tell me, update Mustafa on 1, 2, 3, and 4, and what I'm getting ready to do for him.
And he was having hours and hours of conversation with you to tell Mustafa, fully knowing, by the way, that those phone calls are recorded. The prosecutor gets a copy of those, and Brad was perfectly okay with you giving Mustafa the whole strategy over this recorded phone call.
Absolutely. So he would discuss strategy with me and tell me to update Mustafa, knowing that these phone calls are not privileged. Okay, all right. After a whole entire year, turn around and say Mustafa is objecting to strategy. The problem that Brad Haywood found himself in, that for a whole entire year, I record these phone calls. Now, I've never released these phone calls, and I had no intention of releasing these phone calls. But Brad Haywood put me in a corner where he had my hand tied. I had to release the phone calls because he's lying to the court.
He's lying to the court.
He's telling the court that Mustafa disagreed with him over strategy, and that's why he's removing himself from the case. What are you talking about, sir? For a whole entire year, I have these phone calls recorded.
But if you
for a whole entire year, he agreed on the same strategy.
But if you listen closely to what Brad said on the motion to withdraw, his second motion, when the judge asked him, do you have a disagreement over strategy? And he said no. Judge Weimer corrected him. And, you know, Judge Weimer is very known for this. He's known to be a prosecutor. He's known to practice law from behind the bench. Okay, therefore, leaving the courtroom without a judge. Because that day, that second motion to withdraw, he gave Brad, just like he gave Stephanie Buck in that motion to dismiss on October of 2024, October 31st. He gave Stephanie Buck the answer. When he asked her a question, she couldn't answer because she's so incompetent that he gave her the answer after 10 minutes. It's in the transcript. You can clearly read. The judge gave her the answer. And now in this motion to withdraw for Brad, the judge specifically told Brad, you have an issue over strategy. Brad said no. Judge Weimer repeated the question again. He said, you have a problem with strategy. Okay? And he basically forced this word of strategy down Brad's throat. Okay? And then immediately says, okay, well, now that we've determined that you are not in agreement over strategy, now you have the right to withdraw, and I'm granting you the order to withdraw. Mustafa stood up in court and gave the judge an email that Brad gave him, and this email was sent to you. The email contained sensitive material for Mustafa's case. It contained a lot of information, but more specifically, it contained sealed material that was under a protective order.
By the judge, by Judge Carol Weimer.
By Judge Weimer. Judge Weimer specifically a month ago said, the findings that you get from this dash camera should be under seal. I remind everybody, you're already on the seal for this case, but I'm placing an additional seal for the findings of the dash camera, specifically from the family. And I mean, people would say that, why are you talking about it if he gave it to you? The reason why we're talking about it is because he's lying in that email.
Because Brad Haywood, defense attorney Brad Haywood, told Judge Carol Weimer that Mustafa is releasing sealed material.
I mean, that's the funny part.
Now, that's interesting part about
who's releasing sealed material.
Exactly. The email show that Brad Haywood is the one that's in communication with this platform, with this media outlet, us, our podcast, and he's releasing sealed material to us. And he wants to turn around and tell the judge, lie to the judge, that Mustafa is releasing sealed material. So, the bottom line is,
that's forcing you to come out and say, that's not true.
Exactly.
Brad is releasing the sealed material, and here's the evidence. Judge Weimer, by the way, that day, he's sitting there reading the email, his face is turning all red, and he says, this has a lot of information that is going to jeopardize the defendant's case, so I'm going to put it under seal. No, you're putting it under seal because clearly Brad Haywood violated the protective order that you put in place, and because Brad is such a good puppy to Judge Weimer and Sammy and Stephanie Buck, he's such a good puppy to them that they want to protect him. And that's why you see Sarah Sami never attacked Brad Haywood. Matter of fact, she's defending him. She's in her motion against Mustafa. She's making Brad look like he's the victim. He's such a poor guy. That Mustafa's abusing him. That Mustafa wants this and that, and if it doesn't go his way, then it's the highway. And that's not the truth. Mustafa simply has been asking from day one. And the judge ordered it. The government gave the funds to Brad. Okay, they gave him a private investigator fund. They gave him funds for the dash camera. They gave him funds for the vehicle reconstruction. Okay, and Mustafa says, I would like to go over my exculpatory evidence. That is the hard drive that contains my cell phone data dump, Dorothy's data dump, our text messages, our Google Nest, okay, our Alexa, all this information that's exculpatory, that specifically destroys the prosecutor's lies in court. You would have absolutely no case the moment you open up that hard drive.
Look, the fact of the matter that Prosecutor Sarah Sami withdrew her motion that's scheduled for January 7th, that Mustafa waived his right to a lawyer based on his action, show that she has no evidence prosecuting that motion. Now, the reason that she withdrew that motion is because it's going to implicate Brad Haywood in, one, violating the protective order. Two, it's going to show that Brad Haywood was working for the prosecutor. Mm-hmm. Now, the real question is, Mustafa stood up in court and asked Judge Carol Weimer, and he told Judge Carol Weimer, the presiding judge, in a motion to withdraw, he said, Your Honor, one, I don't want my lawyer to withdraw. We're so close to trial. Trial is just around the corner. If he wanted to draw, he should have withdrew back in March. Two, all I'm asking my lawyer is, where is the reconstruction of my vehicle? Your Honor, you ordered the reconstruction. You have an order to reconstruct my vehicle. And the county gave the funds for an independent expert for my lawyer. Your Honor, where is my reconstruction? Can you compel my lawyer to come up with the results? You ordered by the end of September for these results to come out. Your Honor, you ordered the extraction of my dash camera. The county gave money for an independent expert. Where is the extraction of my dash camera? Evidence show that they cut and mute the county.
And the government paid for it.
The police department. Exactly. The police department cut and muted my dash camera. You ordered an independent expert to go in, and the government paid for it. Your Honor, can you compel my lawyer to come out with the extraction? Your Honor, exculpatory evidence, like my cell phone dump, my hard drive, my lawyer is avoiding exculpatory evidence. He's not allowing me to go through it. That's a violation of my due process. Now, what the judge should have done, over $100,000 that's been invested into this case from the county, what the judge should have done, the lawyer is asking to withdraw, and clear evidence showed that the lawyer is lying about why he's withdrawing from the case. The judge, presiding judge, if he was impartial, he would have compelled the lawyer and asked him, where are the results?
Where's the money?
Instead, he allowed Brad Haywood to just withdraw out of the case without asking him, what did you do on the case for a whole entire year?
Including
and where is the money?
Including his private investigator, who, the moment we brought up Mustafa's hard drive, he sends an email to Brad Haywood and says, I'm out of this case.
How does that make any sense?
The moment you ask about this hard drive, these people go nuts. Okay, they lose it. The moment you ask about this hard drive, where is this what's on this hard drive? Look.
And for those that are just joining in, the police department did a cell phone dump on Mustafa's cell phone, Mustafa's girlfriend's cell phones, and she has 3 cell phones. Mustafa has a cell phone, and they put the cell phone dump on a hard drive, and they sent it to the defense attorney. Now, Brad Haywood sat on Mustafa's case for a whole entire year. He has hired a private investigator.
The government paid for it.
The government paid for it. And he tells Mustafa, after a whole entire year, he did not go through the hard drive. And he refused to sit down with Mustafa over the hard drive. You find out that Mustafa's hard drive has an app. Mustafa's cell phone has an app connected to his dash camera, has another app connected to his Google Nest videos inside the apartment, connected to another app, has an Alexa. Now, the police department cut and muted Mustafa's dash camera. The app, because Mustafa has a cell phone in his app, when the police department did a cell phone dump, they have the full dash camera with the Google Nest.
And this
so even though
this is according to Blake Weiner,
according to the previous defense attorney, that the full dash camera is
on the hard drive.
Is on the hard drive. So even though the police department cut and muted this dash camera,
there's a copy.
There's a copy of the full dash camera on the hard drive. So you're talking about a defense attorney that comes into this case, sits on a case for a whole entire year, only to avoid evidence, exonerating evidence. The moment he goes through this hard drive, Mustafa's coming home. And to protect the prosecutor, what Brad Haywood, defense attorney Brad Haywood, and his assistant, private investigator Sam, do you have his last name?
I don't.
I have his card somewhere. We'll post it. His assistant, private investigator that was given money to go through the evidence, tells you we never went through the hard drive. Well, why not?
Not only has he not gone through it, he's not willing to go through it.
He's not willing
with Mustafa. Okay, and by the way, Mustafa's not saying I want to go through every single detail. No, the dash cam is on it. The Google Nest is on it. Text messages are on it. Exonerating evidence, information that directly contradicts why Mustafa was arrested. Information directly contradicting the affidavit that was put in by Officer Robert Drum, the affidavit by Rob Davis. Okay, I mean, these officers flat out lied. Flat out. And the moment you open up this hard drive, you can easily disqualify their affidavits. You can easily disqualify their warrants. You can disqualify this entire case. Okay, because it's going to show the prosecutor is building an entire case, a murder case, on lies after lies after lies. And she, until today, she's never been checked. Because she's been allowed to proffer and proffer and proffer based on lies.
I'm going to read you what Mustafa said in court during a motion to withdraw. And just to, what, are we good on time?
Yeah, I'm going to, hold on a second.
Yeah. So I want to read what Mustafa said during a motion to withdraw and how the lawyer just ignored everything Mustafa said and allowed Brad Haywood to withdraw. Now, right after...
The lawyer, you mean the judge?
The judge, Presiding Judge Carol Weimer, allowed Brad Haywood, the defense attorney, to just withdraw without asking him for the money, without compelling him for the results after sitting on Mustafa's case for a whole entire year.
And collecting thousands of dollars, taxpayer dollars, without results. I mean, where do you ever see a lawyer given all these funds and then not have to answer for it?
That's disturbing.
Fraud, waste, and abuse. That's Brad and Sam right there.
That's disturbing. Mustafa, on November 6th, during a motion to withdraw, told Presiding Judge Carol Weimer, Your Honor,
You want that?
Yeah. Your Honor, I wish to ask the court that I oppose that he withdraw from my case because I do need him as my attorney. And it seems that he did not like the fact that I was asking questions about the findings of the results of the inspectors checking my vehicle, checking the digital devices, as you ordered by the end of September. I was not informed of the outcome, so he did not like the fact that I was asking questions and I'm getting involved in my case. So I have the right to ask questions to my attorney. And then he said that while we were on a phone call conversation, I'm telling my lawyer, like, I have questions that were the results of the inspector. What were the results of the inspector inspecting the vehicle, inspecting the digital devices, as you ordered by the end of September? As he said, dude, just fuck off. And disconnected the phone call. That's what Brad Haywood told Mustafa. Well, Mustafa's asking him a question. So I was very appalled at the fact that, my attorney is telling me to just fuck off and hanging up on me. So that's very troubling. And for me to be involved in my case, and I'm telling him I have a right to my discovery or reasonable material where I can at least find out what's going on with my case. And he said, you have no right to discovery. All you have is a say in saying if you're guilty or not guilty. And that's about it. And I don't think that's appropriate. And I don't think that's right. I don't have a problem with Mr. Haywood, but I do have an issue with him not answering my question or telling me I am not allowed to ask questions that's pertain to my case. I would like to know something that's reasonable and understanding that I have the right to know what's going on and what's the status. So I'm sitting in total solitary, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the hole. And I would like to know what's going on with my case. And I would like to have the court compel my attorney to at least share that information with me. I don't want something that he cannot do. I want something that's reasonable so we have a good relationship. But for him to tell me just fuck off and disconnect the phone call, I think somewhere in the Bar Association and the State Bar, they have some sort of ethical rule to say that my attorney is not allowed to speak to me like that. That's inappropriate, and I just want to bring that to your attention. I don't have a problem with him, and I don't wish for him to withdraw from my case because we're getting close to trial, and I don't want my trial to be extended further than what it is right now. So if we can stay on track and for me to be involved in my case, that would be reasonable. I would like to have my attorney sit with me. Until this day, he has not shared any material with discovery with me. I'm sitting here like in the dark. I have the right to know what's going on with my case. What am I being accused of? I want to know like details about my case. And I'm asking him questions. And the question that I ask him, what are the results of the audio of the dash camera? What are the results of the accident reconstruction that you ordered? You ordered by the end of September that an expert would go in and inspect the vehicle. By the end of September, this was your order, and to inspect the SD card from the dash camera. And I'm asking Mr. Haywood, what are the results? I would like to know for my own, so that I can prepare a defense for my case. I am the one who is being accused. I'm the client. And if my attorney is telling me, dude, just fuck off, you have no right to discovery, and you have no right to be involved in your case, then there is a violation of my constitutional right. I would like to assert that I have the right to know what's going on with my case. This is on November 20th, during a motion to withdraw. The prosecutor gets up and she says, Your Honor, the defendant is being an obstructionist.
Is that in there, by the way? Where she says it?
Yeah. If you continue reading, she says, Your Honor, as if she's reading from a script.
How is he an obstructionist when he just told you he does not want the lawyer to withdraw? He doesn't want his case extended. If this lawyer was going to do it, he should have done it a long time ago. Your Honor, compel him to do the work.
The problem here, Judge Carol Weimer does not compel Brad Haywood to come up with the results that, by the way, he ordered by the end of September. There's a judge order, the county gave money, and what Brad Haywood was supposed to come out with is the results. And he hasn't hired an independent expert. He's not telling Mustafa when he's going to hire an independent expert. Mustafa's not telling him.
Well, you asked him.
Yeah.
You asked him about the expert.
You find out that he never hired.
First he tells you,
Exactly.
I think they went in last week, or maybe they're going next week. I don't know. It's something at the last week of October. I'd have to check my email.
And he tells me, update Mustafa.
Update Mustafa. Mustafa talks to him that same day. He tells Mustafa they're going to go in January. You just told my brother that they're going in this week, or they've already gone, and the results are probably in my email. And then you tell Mustafa something else?
And then a bigger problem is in court, he told the presiding judge that this independent expert, he's not going to go in at all.
He never hired them. He never paid them.
And then he took the money, gave it to the prosecutors.
Wow. then sends an email. Sends an email saying that they've already went in and they got nothing. What? How?
So the point that, this lawyer on the record is sabotaging Mustafa's case. And so Judge Weimer allows him to withdraw. Now, fast forward to today, Prosecutor Sarah Sami had filed a motion that Mustafa should have his right to withdraw. He should not have a right to an attorney, and that supposedly Mustafa has waived his right to having a lawyer.
And she cited what? What was her citings? Jail calls? What? Mustafa's telling you? Like, hey, good job on the podcast?
I mean,
that's her obstructionist?
Do you know how ridiculous this is? You falsify his case. You throw him in solitary confinement. You deny him bond. You keep him away from, you violate his due process. His lawyer is working against him. His lawyer is not sharing this exculpatory evidence with him. That's a violation of his due process. Mustafa is kept in the dark. And then you have this media outlet that managed to get access into the server, steal the files from the police department, evidence.com.
Expose the lies.
Expose the lies that this police department have been lying about this case for 2 and now you want to blame him for it. So,
she's blaming Mustafa. Look, she's accusing Mustafa of telling you that you're doing a good job.
Why would he not tell me?
Advocating for him.
Why would he not tell me good job?
You're advocating for him. Brad told you the same thing. Did she go after Brad?
I have recorded phone calls where Brad Haywood is telling me,
does she want a copy?
Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, that's why she withdrew.
Brad said, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job for your brother. And we will post that clip from Brad.
Now.
Okay?
Now, today...
He's not allowed to speak. Basically, he's not allowed to speak. He's not allowed to have an opinion. He can't say anything because they're going to say, oh, he's an obstructionist. Because when somebody advocates for him, he's saying, thank you. I mean, is she going after Julie Carey for releasing the dash camera? I don't see her suing Julie Carey. I don't see her going after Julie Carey. Okay? But because Julie Carey is carrying the lies. If you today were carrying Sarah Sami's lies and you were going against Mustafa, would the prosecutor cite you as an obstructionist?
Absolutely not.
And what do you have to do with the case anyways? You're not even the one being charged.
Explain to me why, when we go into circuit court, the public filing, they have a transcript minute by minute of my 6-hour podcast.
Of your podcast.
I mean, I laughed when I was
in there. And they're using that as evidence against Mustafa, saying that he waived his right to an attorney.
How does Mustafa have anything to do? I mean, a guy that's in solitary confinement is somehow responsible.
They're telling him, you can control this channel. No, he can't. Newsflash.
That's why she withdrew.
Newsflash to Sarah. It's Sami.
Sarah
Sami.
Bad. I mean, this is like what's
bad and wrong.
Bad and wrong. Badong.
Okay.
All right. I want to quickly go over the details before we end the podcast of what played out. I mean, this is like another 10 minutes. Do you have time to go through it? I want to go through it. We have to go through it. All right.
You're on your own.
All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to tell you, we're going to continue and carry this podcast into another podcast, and we'll go into more details about what happened today. But the problem with today's podcast is, the problem with today's hearing is that Prosecutor Sarah Sami, after she told the judge, Your Honor, I want to withdraw my motion, Judge Carol Weimer went on and litigated the motion for the prosecutor. And the question is, how impartial is Judge Carol Weimer when he's sitting there litigating a motion that's already been withdrawn, and he would not let Mustafa address the court?
Amar, she told him, she stood up in court to the judge and whispered something, and she said, Your Honor, tell him the thing. Like, tell him the thing tell him about his behavior. And then,
what is the judge? Is her little puppy that she gave him a treat? And then he just went on autopilot?
You as a prosecutor just withdrew your motion saying that Mustafa is waiving his right to an attorney. You withdrew that motion. That means you're no longer accusing him of the things that you had in your motion. And then the judge is going to give him a whole entire speech from the prosecutor's point of view.
Mustafa, I want to remind you, We can't have you do this again. Mustafa
He
tells
says,
the judge.
if this happens again, if what happens again, you just said the prosecutor withdrew her motion.
Mustafa said, Your Honor, I would like to address the court.
He said, I would like to correct the record.
Correct the record. He said, no, you're not allowed. He said, you're not allowed to speak. And then Mustafa was talking to his lawyer, and then the judge looked at him. He's like, oh, after I'm done, you can talk. Okay, and then he went on for a whole entire 20 minutes of telling him, litigating what the prosecutor just
accusing him.
withdrew.
What
and then,
just withdrew.
And then Mustafa said, Your Honor, I would like to address.
I'd like to make a statement. I'd like to correct the record. I mean, you're accusing me of something. Even though the prosecutor withdrew her motion, you're still saying it as if I'm being accused of something. So I'd like to address the court. And the judge says, no, we're not gonna do this. You're not gonna do what?
The lady that stood up in court, the lady that they brought in to assign Mustafa as a new lawyer, stood up in court and she said, Your Honor, because Judge Weimer says, Mustafa, Mr. Aljazairi, I don't want you to say anything that can jeopardize your case now. Okay? So Mustafa's telling the judge, Your Honor, I would still like to address the court. I have the right to talk and address the court. And then Mustafa's telling his lawyer something. She's telling him something. And then she stands up. And then she says, Your Honor, what Mr. Aljazairi wants to address the court has nothing to do with his criminal case. It's just addressing what was said today. So he's looking at Mustafa, all angry, the judge. And then saw Mustafa. Why is he angry? I mean because, let the man talk.
Because they're cover up for Brad Haywood. Okay? Mustafa is trying to tell him that the attorney that you're attempting to assign to me today,
and that's what Mustafa
has a conflict of interest. This attorney is a partner in a law firm for another lawyer that you assigned a year ago or 2 years ago, and said that lawyer came in and said, I have a conflict of interest. I can't take this case. And today, 2.5 years later, you want to bring in that lawyer's partner. How does that look? They're from the same office.
They don't want
Mustafa.
Mustafa.
Mustafa's trying to say that on the record to let the judge know, I don't want another 8-10 months. And then this lawyer is going to say, oh, well, I had a conflict of interest. Somebody should have spoke up. And Mustafa was trying to speak up, and the judge denied him that. And despite denying him that, he still said it on the record. And he asked the judge, you need to recuse yourself, or I'm asking you to recuse yourself. And the judge said, I'm not going to do it. Take him away. I mean, like, are we still in America? Is this still like the United States of America? Because it sure seems like you have a prosecutor from behind the bench. Okay? I mean, Judge Weimer has admitted multiple times in multiple hearings that he's calling these lawyers personally, like Mark Williams, Clark, and Brad Haywood.
I mean, in our recording that we already released, Brad Haywood says, before I even took on this case, I received threatening phone calls. What did Judge Weimer say the other day in court?
He said that he delegated his clerk.
He said, I didn't call Brad Haywood.
He didn't personally call him. He said, I asked my clerk to call Brad Haywood and see if he can take on the case. Now you have a Brad Haywood who says he was threatened before taking on the case. So that tells you that whoever's threatening these lawyers, because Brad's not the first one. Blake Weiner got threats. Elaine Jarvis got threats. Okay? Whoever's threatening these lawyers and they're scaring the hell out of them to withdraw and just run away and never come back is somebody within the courthouse. Somebody within the clerk's office gets the information that this is the attorney that's gonna get the case. By the way, Mark Williams also got threatened. Okay? So you got Mark Williams who got threatened, Blake Weiner, Elaine Jarvis, and now Brad Haywood. These lawyers are getting threatening phone calls about the Aljazairi case prior to the lawyers being assigned on the case.
The only person that knows about this lawyer being assigned is the judge.
And I mean, according to him, the clerk. So either between the judge and the clerk, somebody is sending their goons, their squad, whoever, to call these lawyers and input fear into their hearts. I mean, you're talking about a case that is going to implicate the medical examiner of Virginia, the prosecutor's office, the Prince William County Police Department, the Virginia State Police. You have all these agencies, okay, that are not implicated in this case of falsification. Okay? And you have internal affairs. I mean, there's so many aspects to this case that you see why there's so much resources that would just attack a lawyer. I mean, you have every agency attacking this lawyer because the moment the truth comes out on this case, there's a lot of people that are going to be, I'm not going to say fired, they're going to be looking at federal jail time, okay? From a medical examiner. Imagine a falsified autopsy report, a falsified warrant, a falsified police report, and you have internal affairs who basically doubled down and said, we're not going to correct this, we're going to double down on it, which means we're going to cover up one way or another. If we have to threaten this lawyer, if we have to threaten that lawyer, if we have to send the Virginia State Police into Elaine Jarvis's office and raid it, that's what we're going to do. And that's what they did. She admitted in a hearing in Warren County that state police entered her office, purged her computers, and took Mustafa's hard drive. The same hard drive that today we're saying has the Google Nest and can blow the lid off this whole entire case. Expose all the lies from the prosecutor. I mean, you see Sarah Sami. She's terrified. Terrified when Brad brought in these Brady motions. Okay? She was terrified. And
what happened? That he withdrew.
What happened?
He was granted the motions.
What happened?
And we found out that he withdrew evidence that will show that this police department falsified this whole entire case. Now, I want to end this podcast and I want to leave you with what today's hearing show is that the presiding judge, Judge Carol Weimer, is not impartial in the Mustafa Aljazairi case. He litigated a motion that the prosecutor already withdrew, and he blocked Mustafa from addressing the court, and he forcibly removed Mustafa. But unfortunately for this judge, Judge Carol Weimer, Mustafa already said enough on the record. And he told the presiding judge that the lawyer that you're bringing me today is a lawyer, a partner with another lawyer, a law firm that already withdrew from my case. That already said I have a conflict of interest in this case. They're setting Mustafa up where they bring in another lawyer so they can say, well, Mustafa, we gave you a lawyer and here we are again. The lawyer is removing themselves from the case. The lawyer that you brought Mustafa today is a conflict of interest, is a partner with a lawyer that already withdrew from Mustafa's case. And Mustafa already put that on the record. I want to end this podcast by congratulating the community that Prosecutor Sarah Sami miserably failed at removing Mustafa's lawyer. Mustafa has a right to a public defender. And on the 7th, she was filing a motion where she was filing this motion where Mustafa waived his right to an attorney based on his actions. A guy that's in solitary confinement is somehow responsible for what Brad Haywood is doing. Somehow responsible for what this podcast is doing. And today, Prosecutor Sarah Sami miserably failed and she withdrew her motion. So I want to congratulate the community that's following the falsified case of Mustafa Aljazairi. I want to thank everybody for being here. We're going to continue to report on the Mustafa Aljazairi case. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cams. Defense attorney Brad Haywood, you are under the microscope. And I'll leave everybody with a recorded conversation that we had with Brad Haywood, where he tell you in his own word that he was threatened off of the Mustafa Aljazairi case. It's no longer allegations. It's no longer my word against Brad Haywood. Brad Haywood himself is telling you that he was threatened off of the Mustafa Aljazairi case.
I think, and I don't know what other entities are out there, but they're actively pursuing whatever lawyer comes onto the case. They're calling this lawyer. I mean, even Blake was telling me that he was getting threatening emails regarding Mustafa's case. And I think we're just telling you a heads up that there's a lot of entities.
A whole bunch of people told me that even before I had met Mustafa, which was a little odd, but that's what happened. So I'm aware that I can only control what I can control. I can control how hard I work on a case. I can control how much, how committed I am to it. That sort of thing. I just gonna have to deal with it if it comes. If it doesn't,
Yes, sir.
I find personally if I
when you go through these body cams, you're going to find in one of the body cams that the wife of the investigator, Robert Trump, that falsified Mustafa's statement on the police report, who we have recorded.
If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay? If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. If you all choose to go on the internet and try to publicize this stuff, that's going to create real problems.
Okay.
You can't do it, is what I'm telling you. You cannot do it. I will have to move to withdraw from the case.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay. If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay. If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you